Hey, this is Sam Black with my first match with Death Shadow in Modern. I'm on play, and I have a fine hand. I have a land, a couple of creatures, the Become Immense Battle Rage combo, so this is about what I'm looking for. I'm going to lead with Probe here. I would like to draw a land, and I want to know if it's better to play Steplinks or Wild Nicottle. Plus, I want to just know what my opponent has. Alright, I'm playing in some Jeskai, Lightning Helix, Path, Snare, Rev, Mesa, Strand, Tarn. It's a pretty good balanced hand. So Temple Garden is not in my deck, so I can't get the ability to cast both Wild Nicottle and Steplinks. So I'm just going to get Stomping Ground to make sure that I'm doing something, and play Wild Nicottle. This allows me to cast every spell except Steplinks as far as color. I don't have enough mana for Temur Battle Rage, and I'm not yet at Become Immense. I'll note that my hand is really bad for this matchup. Lightning Bolt is the first card to sideboard out. It has no good targets. And I'm also... I've drawn 2 of them, which is all of them that are in my deck. And I have those instead of lands or creatures against a deck that has a lot of removal. So it's not terribly likely that I'm going to win this game. No real decisions here. Just play Swift Spear and attack with both, and let my opponent kill one of them if that's what they want to do. It would be great if I had mutagenic growth here, but I do not. Unfortunately, I have no basics. Firing off Lightning Bolt because, as I mentioned, my opponent doesn't really have any good targets for it, and I'm getting in with a Swift Spear, so I'm essentially getting a 4th damage out of it. And because I only have 1 land, I'm kind of choked on spending mana, and this gets me closer to being able to cast Become Immense. Alright, drawing mutagenic growth was pretty good. Now if my opponent goes for Helix, things go really well for me. Nope, that's fine. That's too bad. If that had worked, then Become Immense would potentially have just been lethal exactly. My opponent would go up to 8, and then this would trigger Prowess, and I'd hit for 8. But instead, I cannot do anything. So if I'd had this mutagenic growth in my hand instead of Stepplinks, for example, I would have won the game there. I'm just gonna cast Death Shadow. Red for 3. I think I want to mutagenic growth my Stepplinks. I don't want my opponent to take mutagenic growth and stop Death Shadow from becoming a 5/5. Trying to decide if I want to become immense that or just let it die. I think I become immense it. Interesting, I did not expect my opponent to take a card there and potentially give me a land. I want to know what you're drawing. That's good, that doesn't really do anything. And it's worth remembering that my opponent still has Spell Snare, so this Temur Battle Rage is not really an effective card. So I'm dead next turn, And I don't think my opponent has Lightning Bolt, because if my opponent did have Lightning Bolt, then Colonnade plus Vindalian Click plus Lightning Bolt would be lethal. So I have to try to win right now, which I'm not going to be able to do with this amount of life, but... And a Cryptic Command. Okay, so I'm certainly dead. Alright, so I want Hooting Mandrills and Tassiger and Inquisitions and Forest, and I want to cut Lightning Bolt. I'm gonna want Tarmogoyf. It's annoying because I would like to be able to just turn off Spell Snare, but Goyf is too much better than the alternatives, I think. Like, I don't think I can just cut all of these. I think I usually also cut a land here. But I do kind of wonder if it should be Battle Rage instead, but this is what I'm going to do. This needs to get over here. A little land heavy. I'm not actually going to be able to play the Death Shadow early. I think this is a mulligan. I think I have to keep this, but it's pretty bad. I definitely don't want that. My top card is a Street Wraith. Alright, well. Okay, so my opponent did not board out Spell Snare. My opponent's hand is really bad. No relevant early interaction. If I just draw a Death Shadow here, it's probably game. Oh. Well, that's pretty sweet. So I boarded out my Sacred Foundry, so I don't want to get Overgrown Tomb. So I'm going to get Godless Shrine. Play Step Links, and I think I'm just going to hold land in my hand. I guess I'm not particularly close to threshold, or to enough delve. And it's not quite lethal yet, so I'm going to attack with Tassiger. And let's see. So if I play Bloodstained Mire now, then I sacrifice it and cast Thoughtseize and Mutagenic Growth next turn. Then I can also cast Become Immense. So I think I want to wait to Thoughtseize until next turn, when I can make sure that it's safe to just move in on a lethal attack. Don't need to pay extra life here. So I take Dispel, and then my opponent can't interact. And then I can just pay 2 life, pay 2 life. Attack. Lethal. Kind of crazy. Knowing that my opponent left Spell Snare in, I could do something like add this, cut all this stuff, and just like play awkward things that cost other amounts. But I think Tarmogoyf's really too good not to play. But it is a case for cutting Battle Rage. Tarmogoyf I can play. I can sneak through when it's appropriate, whereas Battle Rage gets played later when it's more likely that my opponent just happens to have mana up because they're trying to be able to interact, and the way they're doing it's Spell Snare. So I think I don't want Battle Rage. And I think 4 Delves Guards is acceptable, and I don't mind the extra land. Like, Spell Snare has so few targets that I kind of expect them to try to sideboard it out, but I think that they just need all the cheap interactions, so it's hard for them to do so. This hand's interesting. I mean, it's very good. But it's interesting in terms of the extent to which it makes you want to save the probes. But on the other hand, oh, okay, this looks like it's just going to be a turn 1 Hooting Mandrills. Or maybe a turn 1 Death Shadow. Dispel, Cryptic, Snap, Tarn. Okay, no removal, that's good. So I'm going to play Death Shadow. And then next turn I want to be able to play Death Shadow and Hooting Mandrills, which means I want my green and my black in different places, which means that I want to fetch black, white, which means that I want to play this. Four into two more, well, into, I guess, a lot bigger than 4/4. So this is going to be 4/4 that becomes a 7/7 before it attacks, followed by another 7/7 and a 4/4. Not really a reasonable start. Sorry, opponent. I almost want to get Forest here, so that I don't die to Bolt Snap Bolt. How else am I losing with these 5/5s? But on the other hand, if I just pound for 7, does my opponent even have time to punish me? Yeah, I mean, if my opponent just drew Bolt, then can go Bolt you, untap, Snapcaster, Bolt you. Yeah, I think I actually just get Forest here. Drew a counter spell. Alright, well, I guess I wish I'd led with Hitting Mandrills, but that's fine. So if I make this an 8, 12, 13, I can't quite do lethal here. So if I just attack for 9, my opponent goes to 5, I can play these things. All right, let's... If I pay 1 life, I'm not going to be able to make the step links bigger next turn. But I hit for 10 and put my opponent to 4, which makes Hooting Mandrills and Death Shadow each lethal. And leaves me out of range of getting bolted. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Sorry, step links. Snapcaster to chump Death Shadow. Makes sense. Alright. Yeah, so ended up having very good draws in games 2 and 3, just with huge creatures on turn 1. That's an easy way to win matches with this deck.